Hey everybody, it's Dr. Sierra. I would love it if someone could come on in the comment section and let me know that you can hear me. It's just about 12:30 and we're going to get started. I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction and then I will show you how to prep 3 healthy meals in 30 minutes. Obviously, you can see I'm at the office, so I pre-recorded this, but the whole reason I do that in most cases is so you guys can ask me questions while I am going through the presentation. So I will be here to monitor all of those questions. But I'm hoping that someone out there could leave me a comment, or if you have my cell phone number, shoot me a text. So that way you guys, I can know if someone's listening or if you can hear me. So I'll give you guys a few more minutes to get on there. I'm just going to check my other computer to see if we are indeed live and you guys can hear me. So if anyone is out there and willing to leave me a comment, I would appreciate it if you can hear me. In a minute, we'll get started with the video. I am going to do a little bit of a short introduction and then we'll get going. Okay, guys, so again, I'm Dr. Sierra. I am at Adio Chiropractic here in Venice. I know some of you may not be in Venice if you're watching this, or even in Florida. So I'm a wellness chiropractor. I've been practicing for about 10 years. And chiropractic is about full body health and wellness. So one of the things that you guys will notice if you are new to my stream or my page is that I talk a lot about chiropractic and health and exercise and detoxification, but also a lot about nutrition. So if you are watching this and you have questions about how to eat well, meal planning, and things like that, please feel free to ask me those questions in the chat. I see someone gave a like out there, so there are someone's watching. But I also have a huge following of people who like to learn about how to eat and cook and be well on a budget. So today I'll be sharing, hey Tommy, so today I'll be sharing some of that with you. So in a minute, I'm going to get the video started. Like I mentioned, if you have questions, please feel free to ask them right here on the chat. You can also send me a private message on Facebook, but I should be able to answer all the questions on YouTube as well if you're watching me from YouTube. So we're going to get started. Again, this video is about 30 to 40 minutes about how to prep 3 healthy meals. And I will also walk you through how to read labels, how to find bargains in the grocery store, and I'll post some links here for you so you can see where to get those things. So let's switch over here.
Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Sierra.
Tommy will let me know if you can hear my video.
And today what I'm going to be teaching you guys is how to prep 3 healthy meals in less than 30 minutes. So for me, my life has evolved a lot over the last several years. I went from being single to being married, and now I have 2 kids. And now my meal planning and my meal prep really needed to change. I know I was looking for time-saving ideas, but I also wanted to make sure that I made things that were really healthy for my family and that they liked. So I'm sure some of you guys have kids. So having a 2 and a 4-year-old, I got to make crowd pleasers. Also, we have a lot of people that come over and visit us. So I want to make sure that I have food on hand that's not too hard to make. So over the past several years, my meal planning and prep has really just evolved. So today what I'm going to show you is 3 meals that you can prep and make in less than 30 minutes. One of them does require some baking time, but if you just plan for that, then it's no problem. But also I'm going to walk you through how to find healthy ingredients in the grocery store, but really what you should be looking for when you're reading labels, and how to find healthy things if you want to shop online. So I'll be showing you all that as we go. This shouldn't take you even a total of 30 minutes to make these 3 meals. The 3 meals we're going to be making today is chicken tortilla soup, Big Mac casserole, and then I'm going to show you how to make a sheet pan meal that could be vegetarian, or you can add chicken to it. So we're gonna get started. The first thing that I always do is I do try to make 3 meals at a time. Sometimes I'll make a double batch of everything that I'm making, because most stuff that is made can be frozen, and then you can always add fresh ingredients on top of that. I also like to make things in advance because there are certain times when my kids are eating before I get home from work. Or there's times when I'm not coming home, maybe I have plans after work and my husband or my nanny is feeding the kids, and I do try to have things available for them. we're also really into leftovers. So I will show you how I take these 3 meals and also repurpose them as leftovers for lunches or dinners another night of the week. That way that you can only cook once and maybe eat 2 or 3 times. So first things first, I'm gonna turn the oven on so we can get ready for our baking. So we're gonna bake the Big Mac casserole at 350 for an hour. So that one is a little more time consuming. So I would say some people, it depends on your day. I don't leave in the mornings usually till about 8:30 or 9. So I have time, because my kids get up really early, to oftentimes make a meal before I leave for work. The chicken tortilla soup is literally the easiest recipe ever. You need a crock pot for that. I love a crock pot meal at least once a week. That way we have it, it's easy. I just throw it in the crock pot and then it's ready. Whoever gets home first can serve that to the kids or to my husband or myself. So I do try to do that. And the sheet pan dinner has kind of been my favorite go-to lately. I've been purchasing a lot of my produce online from a company called Misfits Market, and you're basically getting produce that is looks a little wonky or things like that. And the reason why I make the sheet pan dinners is because I can clean my fridge out. So basically, as the produce is coming to the end of its life, I don't want to throw it away or waste it. So I either put certain things into our smoothies in the morning, or I will make a sheet pan meal, which is super easy. Even the other night, we ended up having burgers for dinner, but we went for a swim in the pool, so I made the veggies before we left, and I made a whole bunch of different veggies. Our neighbors ended up joining us, and there was plenty for everybody. So it's super easy to make the sheet pan dinners, and even if you don't want to add meat, there's lots of vegetables that you can do to make it really hearty. So just gonna check my notes here. So first thing first, I'm going to put the meat on to brown while I'm chopping the veggies. So I like to cook my meat in a cast iron skillet. So there's a lot of health benefits to cast iron. I can share some of those with you. And I did forget to mention, if you have comments, pop them in the chat section. I will be moderating those comments and answering them for you. But I do like to cook my meat in a cast iron skillet. So the meat is gonna be for the Big Mac casserole. And don't worry, I'm gonna email you all the recipes as well. So I'm just gonna turn that on to cook. I'm also going to add some onions to that, because when we're adding the onions right into the casserole, they'll cook a little faster, right into the cast iron. So I will tell you that I chopped these onions yesterday because I'm super sensitive to onion, and I really didn't want to be crying here when I was showing you guys this. So I'm just gonna add some of the onions. You might notice that there is a lot of onions in this bag, because we're actually gonna use the onions for 3 of the recipes today. So that's also another time saver. Pick recipes that include some of the same ingredients so you don't have to be going and buying all kinds of different stuff. It'll make your grocery shopping a lot easier. So I'm gonna add some onions into the cast iron with this meat. The other thing that I really like to do, which is also a time saver, is you can buy pre-chopped onions. So I got these at Whole Foods. I did grocery pickup, so I don't really know if they have other variety because I didn't go into the store myself. But I know at Publix they have onions. They also have green peppers. They often have like a mix. So if you really want to save time, especially for the chicken tortilla soup that I'm going to show you in a minute, buying the pre-chopped onions is hands down super easy. Same with the peppers. So while that's starting to cook, I usually try to get most of my chopping for all my recipes out of the way. So most of the recipes, like I said, are gonna include some of the same ingredients. So we're just gonna start chopping. Like I said, I already did the onions. For the Big Mac casserole, you need a potato. So the recipe actually calls for 2 potatoes. I really try not to use too many potatoes in my recipes, especially if we're talking about white potatoes. I am gonna use some sweet potatoes because they have a lot more health benefits, but white potatoes really don't have a lot of health benefits, but I've made this recipe before and it really doesn't taste that great without the potatoes. So I'm just gonna use 1 regular baking potato versus 2 in this recipe. So we're gonna just chop this up, super easy. I don't do a lot of measuring. So once you kind of get certain recipes that are your favorites down, you don't really need to do a lot of measuring with different things. You'll see when I make the chicken tortilla soup in a minute, which is like our go-to, I don't really measure anything. I just kind of plop it all in the crock pot, and while I'm at work, it kind of does its own thing, and it's pretty amazing. So we're gonna chop up the potato, the Big Mac casserole. In the casserole portion, which, you can grab the dish here. In the bottom of the casserole dish, you're gonna put the potatoes. You're also gonna put pickles. So kind of goes against my intuition to make a big back casserole because I'm not a big fan of that place. But this casserole looks pretty good, and I think most people will like it. So you're gonna put that in there. You're also gonna put some pickles in there, just like on a Big Mac. So I just picked these pickles up at the Whole Foods. Honestly, you probably don't even need to chop them up. The recipe does say to chop them up. You're also gonna use them as a topping. So right now, I'm not gonna chop extra of them because I'm not gonna serve this today to my family. So I don't wanna have to store the chopped pickles up. So what I'm gonna do is chop these up for the actual recipe, and then I'll leave the ones in here that are gonna be the topping, and I'll kind of show you what the toppings are in a minute. So I'm just gonna chop these up, nothing too crazy. So a couple things about reading labels. So these pickles I picked up at Whole Foods. You can get them in the glass jar at Target and stuff. They didn't really have a big selection when I was looking on the app for what I wanted. But you want to make sure that they don't have a lot of additives and fillers. So one of the things I always notice about especially jarred products like pickles is they add like weird things that I can't even pronounce. Like sometimes they have MSG, which is monosodium glutamate. Sometimes they have a lot of added sugar. So these don't have any sugar in the brine, which I like. You know, a brine with sugar isn't really going to be crazy amount of sugar in there, but you want to make sure that, you know, there's not a lot of additives and fillers. So when you're reading the label, so if you haven't been to any of my other workshops, when we're talking about label reading, just going to grab this enchilada sauce, which is for one of the other recipes. On the back, I usually disregard this top part, and I know you guys won't be able to see this now, but I'm going to read it to you. You want to look at this section here that says ingredients. You want to read them from left to right, just like you would a paper. And what that is telling you is what is in most concentration in this jar. So in this jar, there's tomatoes, water, apple cider vinegar, chili powder, avocado oil, sea salt, and then some other spices. So the most ingredient in this is tomatoes, which is important because you want to make sure that the first ingredient in something you're buying isn't sugar or junk or corn or something like that. So this is a good product, and I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but that's how you would read a label. So for the Big Mac casserole, you're just going to brown the meat, and you're going to cook the onions, and they're going to go on top of the pickles and potatoes that I just put into the pan. And if you're seeing, there's definitely a homage to maybe having some French fries with your burger there. So, you know, my kids really like this meal. I've had a lot of friends make it, and they said they really liked it. One of my neighbors down the street, she has several kids, and she said it's a crowd pleaser. And one of the problems she often runs into is that her kids have become picky all of a sudden. So she's like found herself making a whole bunch of different meals, and that's really tough. So you definitely don't want to be doing that. So I'm just going to continue. I'm chopping up some green peppers. These are for the chicken tortilla soup. They're also going to be used in the sheet pan meal. So again, I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm just chopping these rough because the chicken tortilla soup is a crock pot meal. And when you have a crock pot meal, everything becomes pretty mushy as you're making it. It's not super mushy, but at the same time, it's gonna get cooked. So it's gonna be in that crock pot for 8 hours. So you don't really have to be crazy about that. So I'm just chopping these. I have a crock pot that's also an Instapot. So as I'm going along, for the chicken tortilla soup, you literally can just add everything to the pot as you go. There is no order necessary. What I'm gonna do at the end here is I'll walk you through all the ingredients, but just so I can get it off the cutting board here, I'm gonna stick them in there. So for these peppers, these are gonna be for the sheet pan dinner. Now when you're making the sheet pan dinner, one of the things that you're gonna notice is you wanna kind of chop everything close to the same size. So this one's a little more important because if you don't chop everything similar size and something maybe more dense than something else, then you're gonna have a problem with cooking evenness. So you wanna make sure you're doing that. So again, you'll notice that I'm using a lot of the same ingredients for the same recipes. So 2 of my recipes this week had green peppers. So when I did my grocery shopping, it's a lot easier to add that to my cart. I also am trying to add a lot of fresh ingredients to the foods that we're eating versus everything being canned or frozen. The chicken tortilla soup, you will notice that it's going to have some canned items, and it's also going to have a frozen component to it. But again, there's also a lot of fresh stuff that's in there, so that's great. So I'm just chopping these up. I'm gonna add these into this bowl over here so I can show you the sheet pan meal in a minute here. So one of the common questions I get when I'm meal prepping and things like that is like, how do you save money? So how do you prep and have all of these healthy ingredients and save money? So one of the things is, if you shop at Publix, you can definitely look for BOGO deals. So they'll have a lot of BOGO deals in their app for different ingredients. So when you're talking about BOGO, that's buy one, get one free, or buy one, get one half off. So I do check for those sometimes. I do order a lot of things online, so I get a lot of my packaged items from Thrive Market, which I think has a good deal. Again, and I'm teaching another class in a little while about grab and go snacks. But again, my life is, I'm not eating a lot of snacks, but I have 2 small kids who are eating a lot of snacks. So Thrive works for me. This is from Misfits Market. This is broccolini. So this is also gonna be part of the sheet pan dinner. So again, my sheet pan dinner is always my fridge cleaner. You can see this broccoli got a little bit limp, so we won't use him. But some of these are on their last leg. So there's a couple things that you can do about things like that. So if you're at the grocery store, you might also notice that certain things are on sale. So watch out, sometimes they're on their way out or they're going bad. So keep an eye on that. So I don't mind buying those items, like especially if you go to say Target and are looking for the meat. They'll clearance out their grass-fed beef often because it's on its last leg and it has to be used within the week. Well, it doesn't bother me. I'll either use it or deep freeze it within the week. So you can look there. Again, I ordered this from Misfits Market, which you can just, they have it, ship it right to your house. It's all organic, which I like, and it's pretty easy. You can go on there. You used to have to pick a certain number of items, but now you can pick whatever you want. So I am able to pick and choose, which helps me a lot with my meal planning. So I'm putting the broccolini here in this bowl that I'm gonna make my sheet pan dinner on. The great thing about a sheet pan dinner is you can clean your fridge out, but you don't have to, you can prep everything today and cook it another day. All you need to do is just stick it in a Ziploc bag. Don't put any of the coconut oil or avocado oil on it, and you'll have it prepped and ready to go for next time. Towards the end of this, I know it seems like I'm a little bit all over the place with the meal prep stuff, but the first thing I always want to do is chop. So I want to get everything chopped up so it's ready to go. And then I'm going to walk you through how you actually make the meals. If anything is time consuming, like browning the beef or preheating the oven, I do always do that at the same time. So when we're talking about meal prep for families or working people, which I totally get, some people like to do this on like the weekend or on Sundays. I generally try to do this in the morning before I go to work or on a Tuesday. My kids have been doing swim lessons on Tuesday, so that hasn't happened, so I've kind of segued over to doing it on a different day. But for me personally, doing it after work is never an option. So the next thing I'm chopping up, these are sweet potatoes. So you could use sweet potatoes in the Big Mac casserole recipe if you wanted to. I have never tried that, but it would be fine, I'm sure. These are for the sheet pan dinner. So sweet potatoes definitely take longer to cook, so you want to chop these up really small so that way they cook evenly when you are making that sheet pan dinner. Because if you have them too large, then everything else is going to be cooked and your sweet potatoes are going to be raw. So sweet potatoes have more health benefits than white potatoes, but at the same time they're not super healthy for you, so I'm not going to make a ton of these. But we did have a sheet pan meal the other night and everyone seemed to like the sweet potatoes because they got a little crunchy because I overcooked them. Sometimes that happens. So I'm just chopping these up and then we're going to move on and I'm going to show you how to start putting these meals together. My main goal while I'm chopping and talking to you guys is to not chop my finger off because I am definitely not a chef. So, but I am really good at helping people figure out nutrition plans, as well as helping you find healthy things in the grocery store or things that make your family healthier and that work. I'm all about making sure things work. So I'm almost done with the chopping, and then we'll move on to assembly. So one of the things you'll notice about the meals that I'm going to show you today is that they all have easy leftover ideas. So some of the, especially the chicken tortilla soup, we make that at least 3 times a month at our house. It's like the easiest thing. So when I grocery shop for chicken tortilla soup, I always make sure that I buy enough to make it 2 or 3 times, just because it's easier. And if I catch a sale on some of the more expensive items. So the chicken tortilla soup calls for enchilada sauce, which I did just show you, one of the ones that I like when I was showing you how to do the label reading. That can be a little pricey. So if they're having a sale, like the other day, they had a sale on the Frontera one, which I also like. It was BOGO, so I bought 6 of them. So that way I have them, because we make it all the time. I also do shop at Costco. Costco has some good deals, but again, Costco, just like Sam's Club, they don't always have everything that you want because they're a discount store. So sometimes I'll go there and they're not having what I'm looking for. So that is a problem. So another way that I like to do meal planning is to make sure that I am looking at some different apps. So I've always used eMeals for my meal planning. The way that eMeals works is that you basically have, every week there's 7 recipes to choose from. And with those 7 recipes, you can pick as many as you want. You add them to your meal list, and then they will basically make you a grocery list, which is super duper handy for if you're going to the store, or if you use Instacart or Shipt, you can automatically like port it over there and it will order all your groceries for you. I'm not a huge fan of the inputting it, just because I often have some of the things on hand that are on the list, so I usually just kind of pick and choose what I need to get off of there. There's also Mealime. Mealime has a free component to it. eMeals does cost after the first couple weeks, but they've also been very helpful in me kind of learning different recipes that work for my family and finding some variety. So one of the complaints that sometimes people who meal plan or meal prep will get is that you're eating the same thing all the time. Well, not necessarily. You can switch things up. I know when I grew up, we always ate the same thing. My grandmother jokingly had a meal. Monday you ate one thing, Tuesday you ate another thing, Wednesday you ate another thing. So I guess my dad was just really used to it, so it didn't bother him that my mom did that. But for me, I know my husband does like variety, and my kids like to try new things, and they're still kind of growing and learning to what kind of things that they like. So I do try to have some variety. So today, first meal that I'm gonna make, which we're actually gonna eat tonight, is the chicken tortilla soup. And like I said, this is literally the easiest meal that you will ever make. So what the chicken tortilla soup calls for is several vegetables. I'm gonna grab a bag of frozen corn out of here. So first things first, I already added the green peppers. The great thing about this recipe is you can add a whole bunch of other things to it. So like if I have celery, I'll put that in here. Or if I have carrots, I'll put them in here. Like these carrots I'm gonna add today because they're on their last leg, they're a little wobbly. So I'm gonna add them in here. So this is just some organic corn. So corn isn't necessarily bad. Too much corn is, because it's a very starchy vegetable. You definitely wanna make sure you're getting organic. Organic does mean that it's non-GMO. If it says non-GMO, that doesn't mean it's organic, okay? So we're gonna add the corn in here. The other thing that I'm going to add, and I have all my stuff stashed over here, so for easiness. So this is bone broth. You can use chicken stock. You could use water if you wanted to. It definitely tastes better when you use chicken stock. Sometimes what I'll do is I will make chicken stock if I do an Instapot chicken, and then I'll make bone broth from that. But it just kind of depends on what I have on hand. I keep it in the fridge. But we're going to add a whole carton of this, or it's 2 cans. So again, if you're buying chicken stock, you should be looking for organic chicken stock. I'm going to talk a little bit about meats here in a minute. But when you're purchasing certain items, like if it's poultry, beef, things like that, you can check out the Dirty Dozen list if you're looking for produce that you should be buying organic. But you definitely want to be making sure that you're buying those items organic. Then we're gonna add a can of organic crushed tomatoes. So these are, again, you can get these. I used to buy these sometimes at Costco. They have them like in the whole pack, because again, we eat this one a lot. Then you're gonna add enchilada sauce. Okay, so this is where I was talking about the two different things. So this one I just found the other day. This is new. I do like this brand, Siete. This is the one I normally use. So I will share with you that you can't be perfect all the time. So this one, when you read the ingredients of it, it has less than 2% of salt, roasted garlic, cane sugar, xanthan gum, cayenne pepper, and oregano. I do normally try to buy things that don't have sugar in them. This has less than 2%, and it's really the only one I found other than this one that is healthy at all and doesn't have tons of other additives. This has been our favorite, and again, this one was BOGO the other day at Publix, so I stocked up on it. So we're gonna add that. So this is red enchilada sauce. Then we are going to add a couple other things. So this is organic black beans. I love to try to buy these in the paper carton if you can, because a lot of cans, if you look at those, can be lined with BPA, which is a carcinogen. It's not good for our health. So I would love to buy these in the paper carton. They sell them at Whole Foods in the paper carton, but they don't really sell them anywhere else. They used to have them at Target in the paper carton. And I will say that I don't often shop at Publix, so I don't know if they have them in the paper carton, but I will check next time that I'm there and I can update you guys. So we're gonna add the beans to it. You can drain them if you want. I don't usually drain them, just add them right in there. They don't have any additives. This is just beans and water. Some of the other beans in the can, you need to watch out, have some other additives, spices. They can often have sugar in there as well. And then the last thing we're gonna add is diced green chilies. So these diced green chilies don't make things super spicy, so it's not something that you have to really worry about. My kids eat this recipe all the time and they don't like spicy at all. But you do need to watch out. Some of them, they might have a version that's super spicy. So we're just gonna add these in here. Just gonna check and make sure I've added everything here too. So, a couple other things we're gonna add here. And I put my chopping board away and I'm not done yet. So I'll show you one of my tricks. So my mother-in-law bought this for me, and it's a garlic grater versus the like big stick garlic grater, and I do actually like it. So one of my tricks that I like to do is I like to buy peeled garlic. Okay, I already buy it peeled. They sell it at Costco. This I got at Whole Foods. Or I do buy the garlic in the jar that is already pre-chopped. They usually have an organic version, but you can just put this on this little plate and you can grate it, which works really well. So I'm gonna do a couple of cloves, because if you've ever tried to chop garlic, it's a pain. So I'm gonna do a couple cloves of the garlic on here. And again, garlic can be spicy, so if you don't like super spicy, you can add less. We like spicy. If you want a little bit more milder garlic flavor for this recipe, you can always add garlic powder versus fresh garlic. But my family does like garlic and spicy. So then you're just gonna put this in here. Super easy. I'm gonna keep this out, because we're gonna use that again later. So then we're gonna add the spices. So salt, pretty traditional. Pepper. Got a little bit left in there. And then these are really what gives it the flavor. So we've got cumin. So the recipe calls for 1 tablespoon. I usually just eyeball it, so I'm just gonna put a little bit in there. Does not need to be super specific for this recipe. And then also some chili powder. So the last things we need in chicken tortilla soup is of course chicken. So I'm gonna show you guys 2 things. So this is boneless, skinless chicken thighs. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about meat here for a little bit. So if you are buying meat, this is where you want to spend your money. So I'm going to put the thighs just right in here. This is really where you want to spend your money. Again, I do order my meat online. I do buy some at Costco. I also buy it at Publix. But if you're buying chicken, you really want it to be organic if you can get that. Cage-free, free range, kind of similar to how you're buying eggs. But you also want to make sure that it's cost effective. So chicken thighs are usually about half the price as chicken breasts. I have one chicken breast I'm just going to put in here too. But if you can catch a sale, then buy extra and freeze it. Like I mentioned, I order mine online, so we usually just use whatever we have left over. I did pick that up, the chicken thighs up at Publix last night, and they were half the price of the chicken. But Publix runs sales. I ended up buying Murray's brand chicken, and they were marked down $2 a pound, so it was only $3.99 a pound for organic chicken. Normally it's $5.99 a pound, which even $5.99 a pound is very cheap. So keep an eye on that. If you're buying beef, which I didn't talk about when I was cooking the beef, you want grass-fed, grass-finished beef. Doesn't matter 80-20, 90-10, whatever your preference is. They do sell that at Publix. I like the Maverick brand. Target has a ton of that. I generally order it from there or in my butcher box, which is how I get my meat online. So the first recipe is chicken tortilla soup, and it's already done. So that was super easy. So I'm gonna put this in my crock pot, and it's gonna cook on low for 8 hours. So the second recipe, and I'm gonna show you guys all of the leftover tools here in a minute. The second recipe is the Big Mac casserole. So when we're talking about the Big Mac casserole, doesn't call for too much, but so I already put the potatoes in here. I already put the pickles in there, and we also need to put some tomatoes in there. So for this recipe, it is important that you drain the tomatoes, so that way you don't get a lot of juice in there, because that'll make the casserole really soggy. So for this recipe, we're using diced tomatoes versus the other one was crushed. And I'm just gonna drain them. You don't need to rinse them or anything. I just had a little soap on mine sitting there. So I'm just gonna drain these all pretty well. If you wanna drain them even better, you can always squish them down with like a little scoop. So I'm just gonna drain these, and then they're also going to go right into this casserole. See here. I'm gonna mix them up a little bit in a minute. But then the last thing we're gonna do before we bake this is we're gonna mix the meat and the onions with special sauce. So this is Sir Kensington's special sauce. I literally just tried it recently for the first time. Primal Kitchen does have special sauce as well, which is great. So this is kind of like Big Mac sauce, if you will. So that's also gonna go in here. So this is all mixed around, and all we're gonna do is we're gonna add the meat on top to that. So I have a bowl here, and I'm just gonna scoop the meat for 1 minute and the onions, and then we're gonna mix it up. So it is very important to make sure that you don't get a lot of the grease. So this was 90-10 meat, so we really shouldn't end up with a lot of the grease. But if you have a lot of the grease in there, then it's going to make the casserole really greasy. So you wanna really try not to get any of the grease into there. This mixture, so the beef and the onions, is great for a lot of different things. So again, if you want to make extra, or if you want to say, all right, so I'm going to make the Big Mac casserole, and then tomorrow we're going to have tacos or something, make 2 pounds of the meat and the onions, and then you're ready to go for tacos tomorrow. You know, you can make it into enchiladas, you can add it onto salads. So it just makes things really easy if you are, you know, combining the prep for multiple things. So then you're gonna add this in here. You need about 2 to 3 tablespoons, and then you're just gonna mix this together, and this is going to go on top of the mixture that I just made, and then it's going in the oven for an hour. I'm gonna add a little bit more. You want it to be moist, but not crazy. And then the last thing, just like on the bun, we would have is sesame seeds. So you're gonna add some sesame seeds in here. I think the recipe calls for like 1 to 2 tablespoons. I just add a little handful in there, and we'll mix it up. So So then this is just going into the casserole dish. So it's kind of important that when you do the potatoes and tomato layer, that you lay that out nice and flat so that way they cook evenly. The beef is already cooked, so you don't really have to worry about that as much, but you don't want to start mixing it around so the potatoes start becoming like double layered. So that's it. All you're gonna do is you're gonna stick this now in the oven for an hour to get everything cooked. And then this recipe gets topped with shredded lettuce. So again, I shredded this last night just because we were having salads anyways, but buy shredded lettuce at the grocery store that's already shredded. Whole Foods was sold out, so I didn't get that, but it literally makes your life easier. So once this is done, you're gonna top it with lettuce, just like again on the Big Mac. Then you can also add some more pickles on top. You can sprinkle it with a little more sesame seeds, and then you can drizzle it with the special sauce. So that's that. So I'm gonna stick this in the oven so it's done before I leave for work. Okay, so the last meal we're gonna make before I teach you all of my leftover hacks is the sheet pan dinner. So a couple things about the sheet pan dinner is number one, traditional sheet pan is all you need. Makes life easy. As you can see, mine are a little weathered, but that's okay. That means I use them a lot. The thing that I love about a sheet pan dinner and to make your life easier is to use this. So I really avoid using aluminum foil because aluminum foil has a lot of neurotoxic properties. It's not good for our health, and I don't want to do any cooking on it. So this is a silicone baking mat. It's commonly used for cookies, but I literally use it for everything. As you can see, mine are very well loved. But what I do is I bake everything on this sheet pan, and then cleanup is super easy. So again, if you don't want to cook the meal today, take everything that you chopped up, stick it into a Ziploc or put it into a glass container, stick it in the fridge, and you're ready to go. You can even cover this with saran wrap or a lid if you had one. If you're gonna cook it today, so I will try to cook a whole bunch of things so they're ready to go. You can stick it right in the oven with the Big Mac casserole. It's not gonna affect anything. Usually the sheet pan dinner takes about 20 to 25 minutes. If you wanna cook it faster, this is one of the meals that you could cook at a higher temperature. Like the other day, I was making the vegetables and I knew I was gonna be in a hurry because we were trying to go to the pool. So I turned the oven up to 400 instead of 350. That's just fine. So all you're gonna do is you're gonna arrange the vegetables on the sheet pan in no rhyme or reason. If you wanna make it look pretty, you can line them up in little rows. So you're just gonna put the vegetables on a sheet pan. You kinda wanna get them almost as flat as you can. So again, I chopped up a lot of vegetables because this is gonna be a meal for us for a couple days or through the weekend. You're gonna add some of the onions to it. So again, similar ingredients to make my life easier when I'm at the grocery store. But again, all these meals are very different. When I was originally thinking about what I was gonna show you guys, I definitely knew I wanted to show you guys the chicken tortilla soup, but then my next recipe was like an enchilada casserole, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of Mexican or Spanish food. So I tried some other things today. But yeah, so, you know, these all are very different, so you don't feel like you're eating the same thing all the time. And then you're gonna put chicken on here. So if you wanna just have a veggie dinner, that's perfect. So you got all your veggies, you got some root vegetables that'll give you some good energy, you've got broccoli, you've got green peppers, you have onions. Again, you can use celery, you can use carrots, you can use you know, even more root vegetables. You could use squash and things like that. I normally do zucchini and they didn't have any at the store. But then I will also add, this is chopped chicken. So these are just chicken breasts that I chopped up into little pieces. And you can just lay them flat right on here with the vegetables. They're gonna cook. I chopped them up pretty small, so they're gonna cook just fine. If you want to, you can put them on a second sheet, or you can put them in a glass baking dish, whatever you wanna do. But the smaller you chop them, the quicker they're gonna cook, so it's gonna make your life a lot easier and everything will be finished at one time. So I just have all those laying on the sheet. I probably need a little bit more chicken for my family, but I'll add that onto another sheet here in a minute. But again, it kind of depends. Like, we are always making a meal and then having leftovers and taking that for lunch and things like that. So I always am trying to make extra just to make my life easy. So then all you want to do to finish up this recipe is I would definitely put some salt and pepper on here just for some flavor. If you like more flavor, sure, grab one of those mixes. Like we have a chipotle mix in there. I've got Italian seasoning, which would be great on these vegetables. You could even use like a healthy Italian dressing that doesn't have any added like canola oil or things like that to it. You could even add a little bit of that here on top. I just got one the other day, and it actually has avocado oil as the oil in the Italian dressing. So that would be perfect for this, because when you're talking about oils, if you're cooking at a high temperature, you don't want to be using olive oil, or we don't want to be using vegetable or canola oil at all, because those aren't good oils or usually have gone bad by the time you purchase them. But if you're using olive oil, you can't cook at a high temperature, so I'm not going to be using that on this sheet pan. Avocado oil works, grapeseed oil, G-R-A-P-E seed oil. Also, you can use coconut oil. Coconut oil does give it a little bit of a coconutty flavor, so if you don't like that, this is unflavored. This is a little bit more processed, but I find that like my jar coconut oil is kind of annoying to use, so I buy this for things like this. And then you're just gonna drizzle a little bit of this over it. Now, if you want to, you can mix it up. It's really not a huge deal either way. I've made this a lot. It's not that, big of a process. So, and then you're just gonna kind of mix it in there. You have your spices on there if you wanted to add spices, and that's literally just gonna go into the oven for about 20 minutes. Again, it all depends on how small you chop the things. The broccoli is gonna get cooked a little bit faster, but I do like mine a little bit crunchy. So I'm just gonna put this in the oven with the Big Mac casserole. And that's that. So while those are cooking, normally I would just clean up my mess, but I wanna show you guys a couple things. I won't be able to show you the Big Mac casserole completed or the sheet pan dinner because of time restraints, but I wanna kind of show you a couple things that I use to make my leftovers really work for me. So once the chicken tortilla soup is done, it's kind of like one of those things, if you've ever had black bean soup, which I love, you can put all kinds of different toppings on there. So topping wise, green onions are awesome. You can also, of course, tortillas. I will send you the original recipe, which calls for you making your own tortillas. I don't do that. I buy these Siete grain-free chips, which I love. My husband still likes traditional chips, so he has organic tortilla chips. This is cilantro. Cilantro is great on top. Avocado or even pre-made guacamole is perfect for on top. And then hot sauce. So hot sauce is one of those things you must read the label. This is a great one. We also have bought one over the years that is carrot based, and we really like that, but you have to make sure you're checking the labels. They usually have tons of sugar or additives in them or preservatives, so watch out for that. So again, those are the toppings that we use. So let's talk about leftovers. So if you want to just take the soup the next day, that's a great leftover idea. Of course, it's great that way. You can either reheat it, eat it cold, whatever. If you drain the chicken out of there and the vegetables and get them decently dry, you can make nachos. So we will make nachos with this. I do buy organic cheese, organic Mexican cheese when I'm making nachos. So you can just do that, you pop them in the oven, and that can be another meal. You can also use, if organic sour cream, they sell this at Publix and Target. This is just Whole Foods brand. You can make it into a taco salad or a chicken tortilla soup salad. That's normally what I do. I just scoop everything out, no broth, put it over lettuce, and then I put like oil and vinegar on it. You can make stuffed potatoes. So take one of your sweet potatoes, chop it, bake it, and then add that on top. You can drizzle it with sour cream, like I said. Again, that's another thinking outside the box way. Or if you want to make a stuffed pepper, you have all the meat, you have all the vegetables. If you like rice in your stuffed peppers, that's how my grandmother always made it. So take the pepper, peel it out, add a little bit of rice in the bottom, and then add the chicken mixture into that. Totally easy way to do that. If you are looking for making it into enchiladas or something like that, which is super easy, I love these. I have no affiliation with Siete brand. I just really like their stuff. But they have almond flour tortillas, so these have no grains whatsoever in them. This is a great choice. They do have a tendency to break apart, but for an enchilada, that doesn't really matter. What an enchilada is I just take take the stuffing, sometimes I'll mix it a little bit with some cheese, and then I roll it up in there, and then I rebake it in the oven. But I've also found these because my friend Stephanie told me about them at Publix. So these are egg wraps. These are cauliflower egg wraps, and these are regular egg wraps. These are great, they're crepes, and I made enchiladas out of these the other day, and my husband was like, those were amazing. So these are really great. They don't have a lot of additives in them. They also are low carb, so that's a great thing to do too. So that's for the chicken tortilla soup. For the sheet pan, one thing I love about it is that it has no packaged ingredients. Literally, that was all fresh ingredients right on there. So we usually just serve that as a regular meal, but then for leftovers, like yesterday, I had it on top of a salad. You can again make it as just like a side dish and serve it with some chicken. But again, that's something that's super versatile. My kids love that, like those little section plates, so they have all their different things in the different sections, and that's perfect. So the sheet pan, again, it is a great way to clean out your fridge. And then last but not least, with the Big Mac casserole, the leftovers are just great how they are. Like I said, if you're gonna bake this today and not eat it today, don't put the lettuce on top, don't put any pickles on top, don't go through any of that chopping process, but just take this, you can cover it in saran, it should be good for a couple days. You can even freeze it, so if you popped it out of the pan, you could stick it into a container. I do like to use glass containers. So like something larger than this, but this is my Tupperware because I don't like to store things in plastic because the plastic, especially if the food is hot, leaches into it, but then it's ready to be reheated. So if you have Pyrex glass container storage, these are Martha Stewart, but you can put that right back into the oven and reheat it, or into the convection oven or toaster oven. So that's really handy, but that can be frozen, and then when you're ready to serve it, you'll just reheat it and then add the lettuce and the toppings onto that. So I hope you guys really enjoyed the meal prep. Don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any more questions. You will get an email from me with information on the recipes, how you can find more healthy recipes and more information about healthy eating, label reading, and things like that. You can also always email me at Dr. Leigh Sierra, that's LEIGHSIERRA @gmail.com, or you can follow me on Facebook. It's the same thing, Dr. Leigh Sierra, and Instagram. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope you learned a lot. Bye.
Hey guys, so I hope you guys all learned a lot about meal prep. One thing I would encourage you to do, if you enjoyed the video or learned something new, please like, comment, and if you would, tag a friend if you think that they could learn something new. If you're watching live, that video will be available, and usually it takes about 30 minutes for it to upload, and people can watch it later. So if you know someone would benefit, please share that with them. Also, make sure you're following me. So if you're watching me from Facebook, make sure you've liked my page so you're getting updates. You can also go up to the top and make sure that you're seeing every update that I give. And then if you're on YouTube watching me, you can also make sure that you are able to follow that. So you can just hit to follow my YouTube channel. So again, I'm Dr. Sierra. If you registered for this webinar, you'll get an email from me hopefully later today. I will send that out with all of the recipes and information that I talked about. If you didn't register through my landing page for this, please make sure you send me a message or email me at the email address that right here below, drleighsierra@gmail.com. So that way you guys can get the recipes from me. So I look forward to seeing you guys again soon, and we'll have another webinar in about a month. Bye. Have a great day.